What is up, guys? Wanted to do a voiceover here. This week, it is the week before dunk camp. So basically, Archie and I Archie Padley, an Australian athlete, flew in to San Francisco to come train the week before. Him and I head to dunk camp in Utah. And so basically, this session is a sprint session. So high-low approach, meaning we're doing a high intensity day today, and so that'll be sprints and then a heavy lift, and then tomorrow will be a low intensity day. So this is Monday. This is the week after I just went on vacation, and I am coming back now into, starting the second week. Basically, I'm gonna load through Thursday, my training, in hopes of being able to hit an Eastbay. So that's kind of the goal right now. We'll see how close I get at camp. Either way, honestly, I've made so much progress on it in a very short period of time that I'll be happy with whatever happens at camp. But yeah, so basically this is the sprint session that Archie and I had today. So, did some full warm up and then ISOs, some dynamic flexibility, then got into the sprints. Here I was trying to help Archie with his starts actually, but he put his wrong hand forward. Anyways, so I did some 30 to 40 meter sprints, all out. I wore my high jump spikes, missing some spikes in the front of them, but decided to use them anyways. And yeah, so I did, I think, like I said, 3 to 4 of them, and then I did some 60s. And so you'll see that in a little bit. Overall, I felt okay. My sprints, generally with sprints, my hips kind of dictate whether it's gonna go good or bad. Today, my hips felt really good. So the sprint session, I would say, overall went pretty well. The Achilles was a little bit tight, but generally I felt pretty good. And I had a little bit of a tail end, which was really nice. This is one of the 60s here. So that's why it takes me forever to get to the camera. Archie ran one too. He felt like he was gonna throw up after this. And then we actually raced a rep after we both ran one. So I went on his start. He started from a 3-point, I started from 2, just because it's a little bit more comfortable for me. So he got me on the start for sure, and then upright, I started to catch him at the end here. But always good to use another person to kind of push intent. After that, there were some researchers, so we talked to them on the track, but we came to the weight room. This is a really unique exercise. I am doing a single leg lower, but with a backward lean. So basically, I put the plate forward out in front of me, and then I put my heel on the plate and my ball of the foot forward to kind of simulate that angled backward leaning position where I can get some horizontal force production as well as vertical force production. This one is courtesy of my friend Thomas, the Danish high jump coach. If you guys are familiar with Jannik Clausen, he's coached him for a while. Jonas, I don't know how you say his last name, and Mads. Check him out. Thomas is a really, really good coach, super smart. And so, yeah, I'm doing these, negatives here. This is a really specific lift, and I'm doing it because I am in a very specific part of the year, right? I'm a week out from dunk camp. I will deload on Thursday, like I said. So in some cases, it would be bad to be this specific, leading into a major competition. But for me personally, I don't usually see too much of a drop off if I give myself a little bit of rest. So I figured I'll go all out with it, be really specific in the weight room, really specific on the track, meaning a lot of the lifts emulate what I will do on the court in dunking, and that's why I picked that lift. And so you can see I was doing, 3 plates and then a 25 on each side, so it was like 315-ish with it, and then lowering down to about the same knee angle that I would if I were doing a 1-foot jump. And then Archie had squats, so he was doing 6x4, and he's working at 275 here, and this is the first time I'd seen him squat. Pretty strong athlete. I mean, obviously, if you've seen him jump AP bouncy, he's got like a 43-ish inch vertical. I guess we'll see at camp what he hits, but he crushed this session. You can't really tell from this angle here, but his depth was definitely good enough for sure by my standards. I don't think everyone needs to squat with their ass sitting on the floor per se. I think if you have the mobility, go for it. His internal rotation in his hips isn't great. So he's got a pretty neutral stance, and then he's just kind of come straight out in front. But yeah, pretty strong athlete. This is his last set here of 4 reps. So a couple working sets at that 275. And then, yeah, we got into some of the other lifts. The reason we did it this way, we wanted to lift outside, but I had to use the Smith machine for that lift. So that's kind of why. This is one of the warm-up sets. I'm doing, well, actually I lied, this is one of the working sets. I did 315 on that. Well, minus the 45 pounds because the bar is weightless. So I guess like 275, 285, I don't know. I didn't do the math in my head, 270. And then CJ showed up, so he was doing slow leg press for his patella, and then also like a little bit of chondromalacia. Then I got into some Nordics here. Big thing with this, guys, is you need to make sure that your hips are pretty neutral. I don't remember if this is the set where I cramp. No, it's not. Okay. So I tried to keep my hips leading the movement. If you start to hinge back, it makes the movement a lot easier. So my goal is always to keep the hamstring or keep the hip in a neutral position and not anteriorly tilt. So if you sit your butt back towards your knees, it makes it infinitely easier. And so you need to keep the shoulders and hips, at the front of the motion, leading it. I use the band on the rack because as I go further down, it gets more difficult. So I'm using variable assistance to kind of offset that. Kind of functions the same way that like a cam would on like a machine, like with cables, if you guys know what that is. And then Archie did his cleans. You guys can make fun of him in the comments for putting the 25s on the inside of the bar. I thought that was kind of funny. I think he's doing 135 or 145 here, but I did some quick little changes here with his technique. So I told him to adjust his stance a little bit, push the knees out in the set position. And I told him, keep your shoulders in front of the bar, which is kind of a big problem that a lot of athletes that we coach have. They tend to be really vertical, like it's a deadlift. The other thing is Archie grabbed the bar with 3 fingers, or 4, I guess. He didn't wrap his pinky around the bar. So I switched that for him. And then on the catch, I told him you can let the pinky kind of float off. When the weight got heavier, he had a tendency to kind of catch it in his hand and let it hit his clavicle. But as we progressed through it, I kind of made it clear that he needed to fix that. So in the future, that'll be something that he works on, but he did pretty good. I think he worked up to 185. I can't really tell. The yellows were 25, the greens are 10, and then I think he has a 25, a 10, a 5 on there. This one, it looks like a 35. So I don't know. You guys can figure that out in the comments and talk about it. But he did really good. Worked up really heavy in this, and then I did some hip thrusts here, banded just to get a little bit more posterior chain work, hip glute work, because I actually didn't work my right leg on that eccentric work. And yeah, that's the lift.